In EastEnders, a funeral stirs tragedy as Gloria's passing leads to family turmoil. George's mother's final request is disregarded, sparking a memorial at the Vic. Meanwhile, George faces health issues from underground fighting. Elsewhere, Callum's absence of a wedding ring hints at the fallout of Ben's departure. Yolanda confronts her abuser, sparking a church investigation. EastEnders' funeral tragedy as memorial is held in honor of dead resident the mother of George, Colin Salmon, passed away earlier this month after suffering a severe heart attack outside a courtroom. She had just learnt that her husband Eddie, Christopher Fairbank, had been sent down for the racially motivated murder of George's biological father Henry. It had transpired that, after adopting him as part of a baby farming agreement, his birth parents arrived to collect him, but Gloria had insisted her husband do whatever was required to keep him. On her deathbed, she made peace with George, and asked him to ensure she was cremated and not buried next to vile Eddie. However, in upcoming scenes, Gina, Francesca Henry, and Anna, Molly Rainford, break the news that her funeral has already been held without his knowledge and had disrespected her final request. The two decide to hold a memorial at the Vic to remember their grandmother, and Anna leaves a message for their estranged half-brother Junior to join them. Struggling with his emotions, their dad reaches out to Rufus, Ian Gain, to arrange another illegal fight at the underground boxing club. On the day of the remembrance, Junior is a no-show and badly beaten from the night before. George goes dizzy and almost collapses. Ex-wife Cindy, Michelle Collins, and pal Phil, Steve McFadden, insist he heads to the hospital for a check, and he's dealt the devastating news that he's got a brain injury that is linked to repeated blows to the head. The doctor deals a further blow when he informs the landlord that one more bad knock could kill him. Back in Walford, his fiancée Elaine, Harriet Thorpe, is furious to discover that he'd been fighting, and that Cindy knew before she did. The news causes Gina and Anna to disown their mum, and she promises to convince their dad not to fight again. Meanwhile, Rufus approaches him with last night's cash and he accepts his offer to step into the ring again. When Cindy finds out, she deals him a troubling ultimatum. What will he do? BBC EastEnders fans spot heartbreaking detail in new Callum Highway photo after Ben Mitchell exit. EastEnders fans were left devastated after spotting a sad detail in a new photo of Callum Highway. Callum has had a tough start to the year after his husband Ben Mitchell was arrested for fraud and extradited to the United States. Actor Max Bowden quit the BBC soap, and thus Ben made a surprise exit from Walford, leaving Callum and his family devastated. Whilst Callum promised he would wait for Ben, his husband was not as sure and suggested that Callum find someone else, as he didn't want him to have to wait for him for what could be years until he was out of prison. Fans are convinced they've worked out how it will all end for Ben and Callum after spotting a sad detail in a new photo. EastEnders posted a behind-the-scenes snap of Tony Clay and James By, who play Callum and Martin Fowler respectively. However, eagle-eyed fans noticed that Callum wasn't wearing his wedding ring in the snaps. One person wrote, "Where is Callum's wedding ring?" whilst a second added, "Is Callum's wedding ring there?" Another fan noted, "I would love to see these two have a friendship. Also give me Martin Chelsea and Ben back." So Ben Callum, as a fourth shared, "Callum needs a new love interest, but doubt writers turn Martin bisexual," whilst others asked for Callum and Johnny to get together. When Ben left, actor Max Bowden posted a lengthy tribute to his co-star. Taking to Instagram at the time, he wrote, "It's been one hell of a ride. Thanks for taking Ben to your hearts and allowing my version into your lives. I had an amazing 5 years at EastEnders and learned a hell of a lot about myself and the craft I love so dearly. It got me through some very hard personal times, and I will be forever grateful. I really will never be able to thank everybody for the support enough, because the fans of the show are so passionate, caring, and invested, and it enables us as actors to want to keep going and always be better. So I really do from the bottom of my heart appreciate every single person who has sent any sort of positivity my way over the last 5 years. I love you all." Ben Mitchell 6.0 over and out. Goodbye EE. I'll miss you all. X. Since EastEnders launched in 1985, there have been some right questionable characters come and go over the years. However, some Walford residents feel like part of our own family, even if they're not even on the show anymore. Dot Cotton, played by June Brown, first appeared during the 40th episode of the BBC soap, which aired in July 1985, and she spent decades keeping viewers entertained with her chain-smoking gossiping ways. If anyone ever needed support, Dot was always on hand to offer her wisdom and warmth, right up until her last episode in January 2020. A year after Dot's arrival came Pat Butcher, Pam St. Clement, a right chip off the East End block who took no nonsense. Pat was straight-talking and basically the local mouthpiece, as she always knew what was going on in and around Walford, and even found herself the topic of conversation on more than one scandalous occasion. The character was killed off in January 2012 in very emotional scenes. EastEnders quiz: Dot, Peggy, Pat or Bianca? Find out which Walford gossip queen are you. Since EastEnders launched in 1985, there have been some right questionable characters come and go over the years. However, some Walford residents feel like part of our own family, even if they're not even on the show anymore. Dot Cotton, played by June Brown, first appeared during the 40th episode of the BBC soap, which aired in July 1985, and she spent decades keeping viewers entertained with her chain-smoking gossiping ways. If anyone ever needed support, Dot was always on hand to offer her wisdom and warmth, right up until her last episode in January 2020. A year after Dot's arrival came Pat Butcher, Pam St. Clement, a right chip off the East End block who took no nonsense. Pat was straight-talking and basically the local mouthpiece, as she always knew what was going on in and around Walford, and even found herself the topic of conversation on more than one scandalous occasion. The character was killed off in January 2012 in very emotional scenes, but which Walford gossip queen do you consider yourself to be more like? Do you like fighting fire with fire, or are you a more reserved upstanding member of public? Let's find out with our new EastEnders personality quiz above. Don't forget to let us know which character you go in the comments section.
It's true Yolanda Truman makes defiant stand against abuser Pastor Clayton in EastEnders. Showdown. The character was left devastated after she was sexually assaulted by the pastor last month. Ever since then, Yolanda has been struggling with what happened but has refused to open up to her loved ones. However, her behavior has sparked concern among them, particularly her partner Patrick, and in upcoming EastEnders scenes, he finally finds out what happened. Yolanda asks Elaine Peacock, the one person she has confided in, to tell him about her ordeal, and a shocked Patrick decides to confront Pastor Clayton immediately. Yolanda races to stop him, and she agrees to report Pastor Clayton to the church officials. Patrick wants to go with Yolanda to report Pastor Clayton, but she insists on going alone. She tells Levi about Pastor Clayton sexually assaulting her, and he commends her bravery and promises to start investigating her complaint right away. But later in the week, Patrick isn't happy to hear that Levi has scheduled a meeting with his superiors for next week, incredulous that the process is so slow. Patrick collars Levi in the cafe and tells him to get a move on, or he'll take the matter into his own hands. When Patrick sees Pastor Clayton posturing at the community center, he confronts him before Yolanda arrives and begs him to stop. What does she have planned to help bring the twisted pastor to justice? As part of the storyline, EastEnders will air a special two-hander episode between Angela Winter and Rudolph Walker, who play Yolanda and Patrick, next week. Executive producer Chris Crenshaw told EastEnders fans, "When you have a story that deserves time and space to explore, and you have talent like Angela Winter and Rudolph Walker, it felt only right to produce an EastEnders two-hander episode. This conversation is the most difficult that Yolanda and Patrick will ever have, and an episode dedicated to them gives us a chance to tell this story truthfully and authentically. I'm in awe of the performances Angela and Rudolph have given, and they've handled such a challenging and sensitive subject matter." Please subscribe our channel.